And we are live on Facebook. We are waiting for Twitter to kick in. Hello, everybody. Patient. One more second. In the meantime, it is a pleasure. All right, and we are up. Good morning, or good after, or good middle of the day, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Today, we have a very special guest, all the way from conservative San Francisco. Oh, oops.
You just gave me up, didn't you?
All the way from liberal San Francisco, we have Masha. How do you correctly pronounce the last name?
Merkulova.
Masha runs an organization that she founded, directs, called Club Z, as in Z for Zionism. And we're going to hear all about what Masha's doing, why she's doing it, and it's so important on so many levels. So let's get into it. Hello, Masha. Welcome to Israel.
Hello, Avi. Thank you. It's been an amazing trip.
Oh, that's another thing we got to hear about, what your trip was all about. Masha and I have been friends on social media, on the internet for a while, and it is wonderful making a real relationship face-to-face after all of the interactions online. So, all right, what brings you to Israel? You're on a trip. What trip brought you to Israel right now?
I am on a trip. I was on a trip with 20 educators and people who are responsible for Jewish education of American teenagers in the United States. And this was our Israel seminar. So we were brought together. We're part of a cohort that is hopefully working together to bring Jewish identity and well-being of an American Jewish teenager to the forefront of their education. And this trip was supposed to show people in decision-making roles what Israel is all about.
Okay, and I don't know how much you could say or you can't say. Do you feel that this seminar helped for these educators to do just that?
I think this seminar was, the organizers really tried to frame it in a way that, it's a complicated geopolitical situation. At some points, they've definitely succeeded. At some points, I wish that the presentation was a little bit more balanced, where we didn't only hear the left narrative, but that there was at least a right narrative presented in a more palatable way than it was. Let's just put it that way.
And I'll just throw it out there my feeling is, and correct me what you think. On the one hand, I think the problem with the Jewish identity of youth today is because no one talks about the conflict issues, right?
Right.
So it's totally been hijacked by the anti-Israel narrative for many of these youth on college campuses and many of our own contemporaries. Right. On the other hand, what bothers me about hearing that is one's Jewish identity with Israel should have nothing to do with a geopolitical conflict. It should do with our historical connection to this land and to our national connection to this land and to our people's our identity connected to this land.
Look, the conflict has become an elephant in the room. And for many decades, the elephant has been ignored. So a lot of people have wonderful connection to the land. They come, they enjoy, they go to Tel Aviv, they, all these things. But they never see the other side, which is problematic. Let's just say it, right? Israel is not a utopia. Israel has problems. So instead of addressing it through the lens of there are issues, we're a young country, we could do things better, and there are our supposed partners, are not exactly stepping up to the plate to be equal partners. So it's complicated. It's difficult. I understand. But instead, conflict was ignored because it was uncomfortable, because you don't want to think of Israel through the lens of a conflict. But you can't you can go from one extreme to the other. And the other extreme it was cherry tomato Israel for the kids and also for the professionals. Right? We had a busload of people who've been to Israel, who've lived in Israel, who've never taken a ride to Hebron, never taken a ride to the Gush.
Oh, you went to Hebron.
We didn't go to Hebron, but we heard about Hebron. Right.
And that brings me to my point, because I think what you're saying is correct, because what you're talking about is the reality today and how to best deal with reality today. I'm taking a step back saying, oh my God, you know what part of the mistake was that could have stopped us from having this reality today? If all the people who were so excited to visit Tel Aviv and enjoy the beaches of Tel Aviv and enjoy the stories of the startup nation in Tel Aviv were also brought to Hebron and taught about the startup nation of Abraham, what Hebron represents. And even these group of people, even though they did come to Gush Etzion, they were not brought to Hebron. They were just told about it, but they're not able to connect.
Well, but not only that, the story of Hebron was purely presented the conflict.
Right.
And it's like, where is Hebron? What is Hebron? Why are we there? It was said in one sentence over, it's like, you can't do that.
And to me, Hebron is the true symbol of us being a startup nation. That's how we're a startup nation.
Right.
We were started by Abraham. Abraham buried Sarah there. That's the first piece of real estate the Jewish people bought in this land that shows our connection. And that has been totally ignored and continues to be ignored. And therefore, we have to deal with the reality today where it's such a focus on the conflict.
Right. And the sad part is we were here during the Shabbat
of Chayei Sarah.
Right.
For those not familiar, the Torah portion read in synagogues all over the world by the Jewish people was exactly the story of Abraham buying that plot of land in Hebron in order to bury Sarah, who passed away. So there was no more perfect time to bring Jewish educators to Hebron and connect with their own Jewish identity and culture and history by bringing them there, and that wasn't done. Right. All right. So now, what is Club? Oh, you want to continue?
I just want to say one thing: is that the group of educators that came are passionate, and they really are. They really want to do the right thing by the kids. They really want to educate the kids. They really want. They have all the right intentions. And my big hope is that, our conversations within the cohort will continue so we can actually get the full picture instead of, it was like before they had a 90 degrees and now they went 180 degrees, they got another 90 degrees, and now we just need to finish the circle.
Right.
So that's my hope for
I hear you, but I'm an optimistic guy, but I'll throw in my pessimistic thought process right here. I think no matter how well-intentioned many of these Jewish educators are, their hands are handcuffed behind their backs because of the prevalence of a politically correct thinking that they themselves are either in or forced in a box to be in and not come out. The second we are not allowed to say this is the truth, and we have to say this is their narrative, we already lost the argument.
Right.
And we already lost the ability to properly educate our youth. So long as these educators continue to use the terminology and the thinking, no, these are different narratives, no matter what they try to do with all their best intentions, they've already failed, in my book.
It's hard. It's very, very challenging. But I am hopeful. So
okay, well, I'm hopeful of hearing what you're involved in. Club Z, sounds like a very exciting initiative that you started. Please tell us what Club Z is all about.
Club Z started a few years ago as a volunteer project because I was looking for a program to help students when they're in high school to develop their Jewish identity through Israel. Because we have students who go to Jewish day schools, who go to Jewish high schools, and their connection to Israel is abysmal, despite of millions and millions of dollars that is spent on connecting them. Why? Because kids want to connect in a real way. And when they go through their Jewish education or they go to Hebrew school, whatever it is, their Jewish camps, Jewish youth groups, nobody talks about the conflict. Again, nobody talks about the elephant in the room. So when they get to college, rightfully so, they're like, oh, Israel wants peace, drip irrigation, we invented a...
Cherry tomatoes.
Right? They go, dude, you stole my land.
Right.
Dude, you're not giving me water.
Right.
Like, what is our kids supposed to do?
Right. They don't have the facts.
They don't have the facts. They don't have the facts, and they don't have a permission for themselves to say, no, you lie.
Right.
And we need to boil it down to them, to these simple things, that when somebody is accusing you of something and they're lying, you should call them a liar.
Right. And again, the political correct thinking does not allow them to go there.
Correct.
Yeah, because they'll be shut down by their friends. No, you can't say that.
Right.
That's how he feels. That's his narrative. You can't say that. Then you're shunned by your own peers.
Right.
So you really have to have the knowledge and the guts.
Right.
To be, and that's very hard. I remember I was telling you before that I was on Berkeley, right? I was on Berkeley, and we were there during Apartheid Week, right? Anti-Israel Apartheid Week, and they had the wall up in the center square, and the Jewish students that were out there protesting, they were standing by the side with signs, cherry tomatoes, we want peace, yada 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 yada, and I'm like, I felt so bad for them. They don't have the tools or the knowledge to stand up for their own Jewish identity, and we'll talk about that. So I said, guys, write up a sign for me. I said, I'm a real IDF soldier. Ask me anything. And they wrote up that sign, and I took it, and I went right into the middle of the apartheid wall, and they just started going after the activists there, not to argue. I mean, not to convince the activists, but in order to discredit them, so that those people who are watching this atrocity of and Orwellian change of the truth, so that they could discredit their whole anti-Israel perspective. And again, I tried to make as big of an impact as I could, but I just have all the sympathy in the world for these college kids that I leave and they're stuck there standing there. There's signs of, we created the cherry tomatoes.
Right.
And that just doesn't cut it.
Doesn't work. It doesn't work. And also, let's be honest. They're fighting our battles. We're sending our students, our children, into this battle. It's not fair. It's not fair. I think, look, Jewish parents need to realize one thing. Just like you're sending your kid to prep for SATs and volleyball and all that other wonderful things, you need to make it needs to become your checklist. Because now there's an organization, wonderful organization called Amcha Initiative with Tammy Benjamin. She created a checklist for Jewish students and parents. This is what you take with you when you go touring schools. How asinine is this? That now in 2018 in the United States, we have to view our college choices through the lens of how bad is it for the Jews? And how can we tolerate this?
Right, and you just made a jump that not everyone might totally get, but I just want to make the bridge. Your jump is, because a college campus is prevalently anti-Israel and a toxic anti-Israel atmosphere, therefore it is bad for Jews.
Right.
Exactly. No. I just wanted to point that out there.
And as we know, it only starts with the Jews. It never ends with the Jews.
Right.
And we cannot be illusioned that if you illusioned that if you think you haven't heard anything from the campus where your kid is at or where you're thinking of going, that there's nothing going on. Trust me, there's stuff going on underneath it. The only schools that are probably not anti-Israel or don't have anti-Israel professors or don't have anti-Israel students are the Christian universities and probably Hillsdale College. But these are not the schools where our kids going.
Right.
And so you have to prepare. You have to understand that no matter where you go, unless you're going to hide the fact that you're Jewish, people are going to turn to you and ask questions. First of all, they're going to ask questions to you, what is going on in Israel? And second of all, we have to take responsibility. And it is up to us to raise our kids, to educate our kids, and to show our children how to do it.
Right.
How to do it. It's not that difficult. I have to tell you something. One of my alumni, he was walking through the school. It's a school.
Alumni, meaning he went through these Club Z programs?
Right. He graduated
from we'll get into what exactly that is.
He graduated from our program. He's at a school in North Carolina. He's just walking through the hallway in the business school, and he sees a flyer. It's a guest lecture of a professor from San Francisco State or University of San Francisco, I don't remember, but whatever. And the topic is he's discussing the occupation, blah, blah, blah. My student, and he brought a friend, they went to the lecture. They listened to the lecture. They raised politely questions. They started asking simple questions. So you're saying there was an occupation, right? When did it start? 67. So why wasn't the state created between 48 and 67? Simple questions that this professor has never been challenged before.
Amazing.
He got flustered. And all of these students that came to listen to him, who were getting extra credit to attend this lecture, are now, 40 students are now going back and forth. What are they going to say now? What are they going to do?
Beautiful.
It's not that difficult.
Beautiful.
It's not that difficult.
Wow. And it's your programming that gave them that information and confidence to be able to know and ask those simple questions that easily discredit the anti-Israel speakers.
Right.
Wow, Masha, that is so... It's so inspiring to hear. So comforting to hear.
Thank you.
Wow.
It's not rocket science.
Right.
We just forgot how to own our own identity and how to stand up for ourselves.
100%.
And that's the other thing that I tell my kids, look, no Israeli wakes up in the morning wondering, oh my God, are American Jews going to stand up for Israel? Oh, are they going to speak up? No. Do you wake up thinking about that?
No.
No, because Israel is you guys will,
We know how to defend ourselves.
Exactly. It's not about, and this is the feedback that I get and the pushback that I get from Israel educators and schools. Oh, we don't want them to be Israel activists. We just want them to be Jews. Great. Could we teach Jews to stand up for themselves?
Beautiful. Okay, now here I'm gonna. Masha's been touching upon this, and I'm gonna go straight to the matter. What you are focusing on is something that I focus on, and it is so important. It is your understanding that for these kids to have a pride in their own Jewish identity, they have to be able to stand up for Israel.
Correct.
It's not about standing up for Israel. Israel doesn't need it, but they need it for their own Jewish identity. Okay, expand upon that. Why? Why is that important? You've touched upon it, but go to the heart of the matter.
Look, there is a Jewish high school in Palo Alto, and the main administrator of the Jewish high school doesn't believe that Israel is that much important to American Jews, because American Jews have a thriving life, and we do. We have a thriving life. Or whatever you want to do as a Jew in America today, you can. But what he has forgotten is that this thriving life began in 1967, when Israel asserted itself. When Israel became strong, that's when American Jews became strong. They've forgotten that in 1920s and 30s and 40s, it was no blacks, no dogs, no Jews signs.
Right.
Nobody talks about it.
Right.
And so, it baffles me. I grew up not knowing that I was Jewish. I grew up as a Soviet citizen.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Minsk in Belarus. And I was a very good Soviet citizen.
Okay.
And the one good thing about Soviet propaganda is that they drilled it into us that we have to stand up for justice. We're standing up with Nicaraguans, we're standing up with Cubans, whoever it is, right? With Africa, we're standing up with the American worker, because clearly they're suffering. When I discovered Israel, when I discovered Zionism, it's tzedek terdov. It's justice. To me, Zionism is about justice. It's a restoration of the ultimate wrong.
Beautiful.
And so that's what we need to connect. Kids, teenagers, they want to do something. They want to be on the right side, and this generation now, interesting study came out. They're not rebelling against their parents. They are. They consider, a lot of them consider parents to be their best friends, which is an interesting in and of itself.
Right.
Right. And so it needs to be at home. Parents need to be educated, and it needs to be in the youth groups, in the schools, in everywhere they go. Israel should be a normal part of the conversation for any Jew, wherever they live, right? Yeah. They should know what's going on. Not because Israel is a refuge. Okay, fine, maybe Israel is a refuge for us. But let's face it, even despite the horrible attack that happened in Pittsburgh, Jews are very comfortable in America. And I don't think a lot of Jews from America are going to come to Israel seeking refuge, right? We come to America because we're ideologues, right? We want it for ideological reasons. And so let's not defend Israel, but for crying out loud, have some dignity and stand up when it's a simple thing. When people attack Israel, they attack Jews.
Right.
And if you are Jewish, you have to take this personally. You have to stand up.
Right. No, that's beautiful. And I am trying to remember that quote that you said. Zionism is a restoration against
ultimate injustice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's right. That touches it on the head. And the point that I try to make in talking to the youth today, saying, you're missing it. You're missing that your connection with Israel is the most inspiring story of modern history. And you're missing out by throwing Israel under the bus and not understanding why you should be proud of Israel, why you should be a proud Jew, and how proud you are to be part of this miraculous story.
Right.
We are an inspiration for every downtrodden people in the world.
Right.
Because we came up.
Right.
We came back. And they're missing it.
They're missing it. They're missing it. And look, again, Israel is not a utopia. And this is where the disconnect is. For 20-something years, Israel for American Jews became a utopia. And when suddenly they're confronted with something that is not pretty. Is there racism in Israel? Yes, there is. Let's not kid anybody, right? Are there injustices? Yes, there are. But instead of going, oh my God!
Like every country.
Right.
No difference than any other country. We're not perfect. But it's not coming from government.
Right.
Every society has its ills. Not everyone's
perfect. People are people.
Right.
And we're going to discriminate. And we're going to, I discriminate every day. Do I want to eat this or do I want to eat this? It's, But the thing is, they're not seeing Israel as a real country. They're seeing it as utopia, and then the world collapses because, oh my God, they saw something else.
Right.
And yeah.
The other thing, which again I can say this, I'm living here, I'm outside of it, I'm also older, not compared to you, but I'm talking in terms of the youth. And I could say this to Americans. I'm sorry. When you live in the exile, and with all the good of America, it's still the exile, right? I'm still a proponent of having as many Jews as possible come and live in Israel. We have a complex,
right?
No matter how well we achieve and how high we get, we still have a complex because we're different and we're a persecuted people forever, and there's still an embarrassment about our Jewish identity. So when something happens to Israel and you're Jewish, you're
right.
personally embarrassed,
right?
And it makes you look bad, so you try to run away from it. And again, part of what you're doing, or what I'm doing, is allowing people to have that disconnect. No, be proud of your Jewish identity. Therefore, be proud of Israel. And even when Israel make mistakes, say, "Yeah, it was a mistake." Every country makes mistakes.
Right.
They're dealing with terror. If we have to deal with terror, we'd be killing even more people in America.
Please, let's face it. If rockets were thrown at Berkeley from San Francisco would be demolished.
Demolished in a day.
Exactly.
In a day. Gaza. If Berkeley was next to Gaza, Gaza would be flattened the next day by the United States of American Army. All right. Let's just put it there. So I'm all for allowing people to understand the complexity, and then but be proud of what there is to be proud of, and then have your information so you're able to explain when things happen.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you can't complain if there's something you disagree with, but don't let that throw away your whole identity.
Right. And don't chop off your part of identity completely. Right. So.
Correct. Which is what's happening. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, Masha, what do parents or educators in high schools, or parents of high school kids, or educators of high school kids, do to be in touch with you about bringing Club Z programming for their kids and their schools?
So, first of all, and I have to thank you for allowing me to speak to you,
of course,
and to the thousands of people. We host an annual conference. It's always MLK weekend, so it's January 18th to 21. It's in Silicon Valley. And we bring teenagers from all over the United States. It's not expensive. We'll work with you. Send your kids to the conference. They will get incredibly inspired. They will meet other teens who have a lot of questions. There's no right answer, but there's only more questions, and that is the goal. And they will get inspired, and they will get challenged. And so then we have chapters in Los Angeles, in Seattle, in New York, of course in the Bay Area. Join us. Come.
And this is for kids who are Jews and non-Jews?
This is for any kid.
Any kid.
Any kid. For the conference, they just need to be 9th grade and up.
9th grade and up, all right?
Yep.
And this is about, and everyone, if you didn't understand, because we didn't say this outright, this is in order to reach out to high school kids and give them the toolbox of information and confidence in their identity of standing strong with Israel so that they could be prepared for college.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have to tell you, the number one question that I get from parents is, oh, that sounds great. How do I get my kid to do it? How do I, you have to make it a priority. You have to make it clear that this is something that you do as a family, that you make Israel part of your life.
Right, and that's exactly, so basically what you're saying is, if you as a parent truly care about your child being able to survive the college years with a strong Jewish identity, this is a must-do for your educational toolbox as a parent.
Absolutely.
Or educator.
Yes. Yes.
All
yes,
right,
we cannot ignore this anymore. We can't afford it.
Right.
Maybe 20 years ago we could. But for 20 years, the story of Masada was not taught in Jewish schools. How? How's it possible? Because it's too sensitive. It's too sad. If we can't deal with our own history in an honest way, really? Story of Masada is not inspirational, but it's sad. Yes, it's sad, but let's not run away from our own
Those
stuff.
who are not familiar, because in the end, in order not to be killed and raped and taken as slaves, all the Jews committed suicide on Masada, and that's the story. We did not let them win by that act.
But we're letting them win. Look, Hitler lost, but the Soviet Union is winning. We're being stripped of our Jewish identity. Willingly or unwillingly.
You're referring to Jews in the Soviet Union?
Jews in the Soviet Union, right? We were completely assimilated.
Right.
And now, in the United States, for most people, being a Jew is a choice. And it's very easy to make a choice not to be a Jew.
Right.
Or to be a Jew of locks. Or to be a Jew of funny jokes.
Right.
Funny jokes.
Just the culture, right.
Right. But if you want your grandchildren to be Jewish, you have to connect them to Israel. There's no way around it.
Right. No, 100%. Masha, thank you so much. I definitely look forward to being in touch with you, to seeing what we can do to help one another, to reach as many high school students as possible before they reach college.
Thank you.
Bahatzlacha, good luck in Hebrew, on all the holy work you are doing.
All right. Thank you. Thank you,
Avi. And we'll post on Masha's website, clubz.org. So if you are a parent or an educator, or you know people to send this to, send them the link, tell them to contact Masha via the website, and let's all make a difference for each and every one's personal identity. And it's, again, not about defending Israel, it's about defending themselves and their own identities. Take care, everyone, and shalom from the ancestral capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.